Welcome to our channel. We're the sisters.
My name is Berlinda.
And I'm Motley.
And today we're going to be discussing punishment versus reinforcement.
Well, many of you probably when you were growing up, like us, you were punished. Perhaps you were spanked. Perhaps you were, sent to your room or something like that. But what I've discovered with my son is that I needed something more. I needed something that was more effective. So my sister is going to tell you what we've discovered.
Okay, so you probably want to know the difference between punishment versus reinforcement. Okay, so I'll give you an example, right? So let's say, for instance, my nephew, right? He loves the tablets, okay? And sometimes he plays with it just a little too long. So let's say I tell him, you've been playing with this tablet too long, you need to put it down. And he doesn't want to put it down. So he's not listening, right? So since he's not listening, his punishment at that point will be to sit in the corner in timeout, okay? But if I see that he, for the 5 minutes that I put him in that corner in timeout, he's sitting nicely, then as a reinforcement, right, I decide that I'm going to give him a high five and I'm going to say, wow, you did a great job sitting nicely, right? Because I want to increase that desired behavior. So the reinforcement is to try to increase that desired behavior, while the punishment is just a temporary fix for the behavior. Okay?
So what I find is that, like my sister just shared with you, we need to have a combination. We cannot have punishment and isolation. It needs to be a combination of punishment and reinforcement. And what I also find is that reinforcement is more effective and punishment should really be the last resort. Now, some people may say, oh, so that means I have to go out and buy toys and things like that for what my child likes. You don't have to do that. I have been using what my son likes. For example, if I'm reinforcing a behavior, my son may like, scratches on his hand, scratches on his back. And like my sister said, he loves to be praised. So you don't have to go out and purchase things for reinforcers. Many people say, well, reinforcement is more like bribery. No, it's not. You're not saying, if you do this, then you do that. You're saying, first do this, then that. That's not a bribe. And many times, you don't also, while you are reinforcing one behavior, you don't want to reinforce another. Let me give you an example. Let's say my son and I were going for a drive, and he loves to go out to eat. Yeah, doesn't he?
Yes,
he does. And let's say I'm passing by one of his favorite restaurants. Mm-hmm. But sometimes things happen where I may not be able to stop. And most likely, if I don't stop, my son will probably have a meltdown. So what I will do is I will, of course, pull over, be safe for him and for me. And I would wait until the meltdown is over. And what I do is once the meltdown, is over, then what I do is I don't immediately or automatically take him to where he wants. I'll say, okay, you need to count to 30 because I want him to understand that I am not taking him to the restaurant because he had a meltdown. I'm taking him out to eat because, again, he counted to 30. So while you are reinforcing one behavior, you don't want to reinforce another behavior. Something else that you can do is if you don't have time to stop at all, then just keep going, because that will teach him also that just because he has a meltdown, it doesn't mean that he is going to get what he wants.
Right. And also another thing I want to reiterate is the fact that there are a few exceptions where you can actually use punishment in isolation. For instance, if your child is in harm's way, please use punishment in isolation.
Yes.
For instance, if my nephew decides that he's going to run into the traffic while cars are coming, obviously I want to use a quick temper fix at that point to protect him and get him out of harm's way.
Yes.
What would you do at that point?
At that point, what I would do is I would use something called autocorrect. I would bring my son back, and I would literally say, before you cross the street, you need to look right, look left, and then cross the street. So once again, don't think that, you don't ever punish. Yes, you do. It's, like she said, if he or she or your child is in harm's way, of course you have to use punishment. But I just find, once again, that for me, what works is in conjunction with reinforcement with punishment. I don't want to do punishment in isolation. What I find is that reinforcement teaches your child. It teaches them a lesson. Whereas the punishment, just sending them to their room, I don't see that.
It's just a quick fix.
And I want something that will help my child to be successful
and increase the desired behavior.
Exactly, and be independent.
Right. And again, remember, this is our journey, and this is what works for my nephew. But to each its own. So, you find what you know is best for your child, and you know what that is. And also, please, feel free to put your comments and let us know of any topics you'd like us to discuss. And we gladly discuss our journey regarding what the topic is. And also, please support us by purchasing our book that discusses our journey in depth by clicking on the link below. Have a great day.
Don't forget to subscribe and like us. Bye.